But with me now, I am really privileged to have here with us Scott Jennings, who is the state director of a new organization called the Coalition to Protect Kentucky Jobs. Their website is protectkentuckyjobs.com. Scott spent nearly 3 years as an advisor to President George W. Bush and worked on political strategy with White House senior advisor Karl Rove. And it doesn't seem as if Scott ever quit strategizing. He's now a senior strategist of public affairs for Paradis Public Relations here in Louisville. He is a native Kentuckian and as a former radio guy. It's in my blood. I always have to mention all the radio background. You were a former reporter for WHAS Radio, and you were with the Kentucky News Network before becoming a political operative. I'm not sure how all that happens, but welcome, Scott, to the Les Naiman Show tonight. Tell us a little more about the Coalition to Protect Kentucky Jobs and what you hope to accomplish.
Sure. Thanks for having us on tonight. And yes, it's a privilege to be in the fraternity of brotherhood of the radio world. So
it is.
Always glad to be in front of a radio microphone. What we're doing with the Coalition to Protect Kentucky Jobs, Jim, is organizing small business owners and individuals around the state of Kentucky and standing up for them when it comes to workplace issues, particularly the issue of the Employee Free Choice Act, or as we like to call it, the Employee Forced Choice Act. Yeah. It's one of the most important issues out there being debated at the federal level right now in Congress. It's been introduced in 4 straight sessions of Congress, and you have the head of the AFL-CIO, Richard Trumka, out there saying that if they can't pass it on its own, they're going to try to attach it to another piece of legislation. This thing is troubling. It's bad for the economy, and we're trying to educate people about why it's terrible.
Well, let's tell people what the Employee Free Choice Act targets, in my understanding, a couple of key areas. One is this would make it easier for union thugs to coerce people into signing a form supporting a union. Have I got that right?
That is right. It's typically you hear it called card check, but it would eliminate the secret ballot in union elections.
Which is sacred. I mean, folks, the secret ballot, I'm sorry, but the secret ballot should not be messed with. I mean, this is American tradition. And, you know, look, if the union, and look, I'm not anti-union, all right? But I am anti-special privileges for union. I'm anti-government subsidies of union. I'm I'm anti giving unions a leg up on everybody else. I mean, I think they should have to compete for their own membership and their own dollars. And by getting rid of the secret ballot, what that says, and that should be a red flag to everybody who cares about freedom and liberty, is that they know that they're not going to win if they have a secret ballot, because they haven't been winning. They haven't been winning a lot of these organizing elections. They've been losing members. So rather than try to say, hey, what can we do to better serve our constituents and make our case better, they want government to do the job for them. They want to use the force of government to improve their numbers and their dues.
They want to make it easier to put unions in more businesses, and it's primarily because of the pension issue they have. You know, these unions are supposed to be managing massive pensions, and the big labor bosses have managed them right into the ground. And so they have all these liabilities coming up in the future, and there are fewer and fewer union members across the country. And so now they're turning to their friends in Congress to say, hey, we need a law that makes it easier to force people into unions so we can get their forced dues. You're exactly right. That's one part of the bill. There is a second part of the legislation that many people don't know about, but is just as troubling, and it's called forced binding arbitration. In other words, the EFCA, the Employee Forced Choice Act, puts government right in the middle of contract negotiations between workers and the business owners. And so after a short period of time, Jim, if they can't come to an agreement on a contract, then the federal government can send a bureaucrat in there, dictate the terms of the contract to both the owner and the worker, and say, this is the way it is. And if you're a business and you can't comply, if you're a business owner in Kentucky, you might have to shut down. You might have to move overseas. It puts the government squarely in the middle of running your business.
And here's exactly right. And here you got to understand this to really know how bad this is. I mean, there is no incentive. There's every pressure on the business, okay? There's every pressure on the employer to come around, but there is nothing there that would keep union negotiators, for example, from running out the clock so that businesses would be hurt. And Scott, look, we had John Blundell here with us recently. He was an advisor to Margaret Thatcher. You might have heard of him. And one of the greatest accomplishments of Lady Thatcher as prime minister was to bring the unions, as she put it, back under the rule of law. And she said unions are out to destroy owners, but we want to turn people into owners, and it's something like that. That's not an exact quote, but this is the thing. It's all one-sided. It all favors the unions, and employers are going to really be hurt by this. And Newt Gingrich, I think he's right. He said this would kill 600,000 jobs for every 1.5 million workers coerced into unions. I'm quoting him.
That's right.
Survey of 925 labor economists opposed to the Employee Free Choice Act. Nearly 2/3 surveyed believe Congress should not pass it. When informed about the binding arbitration clause, the percentage of economists in favor of the bill drops from 36 to just 27%. Unions had 35% of the private workforce in the 1950s, 8% currently. They're hurting. They're desperate. So they want to use government. This is what ticks me off. They want to use government to do their dirty work for them. I mean, that's just how I see it. And, this is just going to be a bad thing for business and employers.
Well, what we have right now is this bill, which has been introduced in 4 straight sessions of Congress, and we have the head of the AFL-CIO promising to attach it to other legislation. So the Coalition to Protect Kentucky Jobs has sent a questionnaire to every candidate for federal office in Kentucky, and I have a copy of it right here. It is very simple. There's nothing mysterious about it. There's no hide the ball here, but it is a series of 8 questions, 7 questions, and a place for comments that tries to specifically ascertain where are you on this so that we can then better inform the citizens of Kentucky about where you stand on it. The questions are simple. Do you support the Employee Free Choice Act? Do you support card check? Do you support binding arbitration? Do you think penalties in the middle for violating the NLRB rule should be harder on unions, harder on businesses, or equal? Do you think the Employee Free Choice Act should be attached to other legislation? Do you think that the federal government should have the power to impose contracts between businesses and workers? These are simple questions that we've sent out to every candidate for federal office. We've asked for the responses by June 15th, and we plan to publicize those to educate the citizens of Kentucky.
This is the problem with the health care bill. All right, the administration in Washington, the 3-ring circus, they got their momentum from this. So now we're going to see a move, folks, into cap and tax, which I can't think of, and to card check, and I can't think of any 2 policies that would be more damaging to the businesses of Kentucky. Think about cap and tax and coal. Think about how that would decimate our coal industry. Think about how card check, this all sounds benign. They always come up with these names, Employee Free Choice Act. There's nothing free. There's no choice about it. I mean, this is designed to get people to have to be open about what they think about the unions, whether they support it or not, so that they can be intimidated and harassed if they don't vote the right way. Tell me what about this I'm wrong with. I think I'm right.
No, you're right. The name of this bill, there's nothing free about it. There's no choice. You get coercion, and you get people pressuring you to sign a union card in the middle of your they can come to your house and knock on your door while you're out there barbecuing. They're knocking on your door. It is nothing free. There's no choice about it. It's bad for business.
Thank you very much, Scott Jennings, for being with us tonight. And
Sure.
I wish we had more time to talk about the current political state of things. I know you probably have some thoughts on that, but this is very important, folks. Go to that website. Give me that website again.
It's www.protectkentuckyjobs.com. Sign the petition. Tell the citizens of Kentucky, tell your office holders, tell your candidates you don't want the Employee Forced Choice Act passing the United States Congress.